behalf of Zed Gazette, the co-founder, and we have HEROin, one of the earliest adopters of Zed Run. He's been around for about almost since the beginning. He does the Destiny series races, and he's pretty active in the community. This is his first interview as well. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm all right. Bucks and six. That's all I'm gonna say.
So kind of to kick things off, I would like to hear kind of both of your stories. I mean, HEROin, in your Twitter profile, it says you've been in Zed for almost 2 years in some capacity.
Yeah.
Like what kind of got both of you into Zed? And is there anyone in the community that you really look up to, or was it like a person in the community that got you into Zed, or was it more of just hearing about it in another way?
Dr. Ian first, or I'm good. Okay, maybe actually just kick off.
Go for it, buddy. You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I started Zed probably about 2 years ago, way before a lot of you guys. I guess I was partially involved in a project that was trying to democratize horse ownership, but the real horses, thoroughbred horses. So we were working on fractionalizing thoroughbred horses into 1,000 pieces and set it off into small little chunks so that it becomes something that is probably more achievable and attainable for the masses to participate in horse racing. So that was the whole project, and it was built on the blockchain. And that got me interested to learn more about thoroughbreds and races, etc. And that was also the time that CryptoKitty came out. It was a shit show. Of course, I was also running an ICO during then, and all the transaction was held up because of CryptoKitty. And that's where we first started to learn about this whole NFT space. And I kind of stumbled upon Zed because of the whole business model that we were building on the real world and versus what Zed was building. And I thought the approach was very interesting and something that I would definitely want to take a closer look at. And unfortunately, the Ethereum tanked during then. I'm not too sure you guys were in Ethereum then. It was about 900-ish. Then it went all the way down to $180.
Wow.
So I had a bunch of Ethereum that, to me, it doesn't make sense to liquidate at all because of the fall in value. So I took all the Ethereum and decided, let's just buy some horses. So when I started Zed, I think we were doing market sale for Z8 or Z9. So it's like $20 per horse. I can literally just refresh the screen and then choose the horse that you want, the color, the name. It's just up to you. So Lucky Jack was one of the few that was in a lot earlier, King Show, etc. So I kind of thought, why don't I try to hunt down some owners of Z1? Because Z1 is not on sale anymore, it's all on OpenSea, right? And that was really slow in development during then, like now. So they have not changed. They have been consistent throughout the whole 2 years. So that's what's good about them, right? They've been really rather consistent on this. So I started to approach strangers on Discord, going on OpenSea, etc. Then I got myself a couple of Z1. I think I got about 10 Z1s, couple of Z2, Z3, Z4, and I just keep on buying and buying. I just told myself, whatever Ethereum I have on my wallet, just spend every single cent of it. Because at $180, it doesn't make a lot of difference to me at all. So at the end of the day, I think I bought about 30 over horses.
Wow.
In the space of about 2 months. That's back in 2019 September. And my best horse is Phantom Pacer. I think it's a relatively good horse. And most of my Z1, I got it for about 1.5 Ether.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's insane.
yeah, it was amazing. But the whole idea is the idea behind Zed was really very interesting. The whole ecology behind it. When we first started, there was no racing. All you do is you buy the horse and then you just stare at it. Basically, that's the only thing you can do. And there was breeding open, but I know there's no really some theory behind it at all. Everybody just breed for the fun of it, and it costs you a couple of bucks to breed a horse, so why not, right? And I didn't really did much then. I kind of stepped away for a while, and when the racing came back, I started to come back to race a little bit. But it was a little bit crazy because all the bred horses were beating us like no business. your Z20, Z30, right, were beating the Z1 every single race.
Wow.
And I told myself, fuck it, then I'm not going to race at all, right? So I left the game again, and then they did a reset in December. I came back in March, and I loaded up another. Don't ask me how many more horses I bought over a period of time. But I love the whole idea behind that. I love the fact that, jokes aside, they are taking their time to build the system. They're taking the time to make sure that the things are right, although they are making a lot of power across the last couple of months. But I think overall the company is moving in the right direction. So that's why I'm very, very vested in the game right now.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. And is that program of kind of fractionalizing, splitting up real horses, is that still around or is that done?
Now, the thing is this, we spent about $1 million-ish in the project, and right to the last stage where we were about to launch, the principal decided that he doesn't want to play the game anymore, and he just shut the whole thing down.
Oh no! Wow.
Well, that's with table owners, right? Owning horses in the real world is a self-actualization process. You're not really owning horses to make money. Right? He has more than 50 horses around the world, being in Hong Kong, Singapore, South Africa, Australia. It is not about really making money. How many winners are there, truthfully? I mean, end of the day, out of 100 horses, you probably get less than one winner, right? So
yeah,
it's about them telling people, I own a horse. Or wrong, I own 20 horses, I own 30 horses, and I'm a member of the Hong Kong Jockey Club. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. What an interesting story. What a very interesting story. And to hear those early adopters get in and buy for what we see now is so cheap. But I mean, the utility wasn't quite built out there, so it's kind of a scary time too. It didn't seem like it's as like, oh yeah, I can buy, I can breed, I can race all at once. It's definitely, the landscape has definitely changed. It sounds like.
Definitely.
Dr. Ian, what about you? What got you, or who got you into Zed?
Well, ZG, before he was called ZG, got me into Zed in like November. So this is before the reset that HEROin has kind of mentioned. So I do remember what he's kind of referring to that time. So yeah, I to his point, I bought a bunch of Z10s for $20. And it was just like, what color do I want them? What name do I like? I mean, it was kind of strange. We did that for a while. And then there was a drop maybe like 4 months ago, and they just went up in price and sold out immediately. And then after that, it's been crazy to get one. So anyways, yeah, ZG got me into this game. For me, when I watched my first 3D race, I thought this was the future of horse racing and definitely the digital space. I told Adam ZG, I told him, I was like, I think the people that own horses today are an older crowd. They're much like a baby boomer plus kind of crowd. And in the future, there may not be actual physical real life horse racing, and this could replace it, which makes me really exciting. So for me, that's long term kind of like the vision I had, and I really think about. I don't know if that'll be the case, but I think it'll be interesting to see what will happen with that. Yeah, so since that point, it's been I race my horse. I did a lot of racing. The first 3 months I played the game, I was playing a lot. I was kind of addicted to it. So I'm glad I've kind of backed away from that end. But yeah, a lot of racing. The free races are kind of gone now. It's kind of changed a little bit in the last like 5-6 months of like how the game kind of feels. But I'm happy to see breeding back. I mean, it's everything's pretty competitive. I'd like to see more races. I'd like to see more horses have some utility on the track, because right now it's tough to get a win right now. So
this is true.
Absolutely.
Very true.
Absolutely.
So do you guys have any prevailing theories on how to improve your stables or anything?
You want to go?
I don't know. I have probably close to about 80 horses now, and I race probably about 5 or 10 of them at one go. And it's pretty messy to do that. But I think the tooling available now to the community is amazing. Zed Run tools, know your horses. So if you really want to race properly and do proper race management, right, I think you could do that bit of in-depth study before you put your horse into any particular race for any particular distance. the whole theory behind speed, the range of the speed, the deviation, etc. Those are things that you can take a closer look at it, and that will give you a probably slightly uh, edge on versus the other players who just dump the horse into any race that's available. So that's one thing that I'm doing right now. Although I'm not making a lot of money from racing, neither am I making money from breeding. So actually, I'm not. I'm really curious what am I making money from in the first place, right? Uh,
Mhm.
yeah. And I have this theory behind stable form. I'm not too sure how true it is. I realized when I start losing races or not winning races, right? It happened across all my horses, not just that one or two horses that didn't win. And because I don't send in only one or two horses during a day, right? And especially now with 8 hour wait, I will sign up four horses over different class and different distance. And if I don't win, right, all my horses doesn't win. I don't win, which is weird. And when I hit the hot streak, right, my horses does generally across the board a lot better than other period. So that's something that I realized, and it could be just a self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't know, because if I know that I'm not doing well now, I will start entering the cheaper races, and or I will start, I don't know, very less care in terms of race selection. But when I know that I'm on a hot streak, right, I will actually do a little bit more in-depth analysis of every single race. And the fact that now the wait time is 9 hours is actually better for guys that have no U-shaped horses,
I agree.
because you tend to have the ability to avoid them. Unfortunately, for class one, you can't, because you just literally wait for a day for the race to fill, and the U-shaped horses will just wait for you to stack up the 10 gate and then come in on the 11 or 9 and the 12 gate. But by and large, that's what I'm doing right now. In terms of breeding, I'm definitely not as knowledgeable as Dr. Ian or GG. But I'm adopting the fact that donkey has a purpose in Zed. So I love to breed a donkey with a runner and test out the offspring. So
Nice.
I think that if you're a donkey, right, then your purpose within the game could be a consolidator of gene. So the odds 30 and 40 horses are those horses that I love for the sole purpose of breeding. And I'll typically try to pair them with a horse with 12-15% win rate, odds below 10-ish thereabout. And I see whether do I get a good offspring out of it.
And have you seen that at all?
I actually have a couple that is actually doing reasonably well. Not amazing runners, um, I, but then it's still early game. It's just first cycle now, and you got to see what's the next cycle like. Of course, there are a lot of theory behind skip generation or performance, whether the legacy legendary will not be the better runner compared to the exclusive and the elite, which seems to be evident right now. And because I have majority Genesis horses previously, in fact, I only have two legacy before the breeding cycle. So now I have a bunch of legendary that I can try out for the next cycle and see how the whole theory works out. And I'll definitely try out GG's and Dr. Ian's theory. I printed out the circular stuff that GG have been sharing on Twitter. I still don't really get it, but I think one of these days I'll just color label all my horses, and then I'll just follow the pattern. Well, I don't know, and try it out.
Very, very interesting. What about you, Dr.
So
Ian?
I have lots of theories on both breeding and racing. So I mean, it's more. I mean, you've seen the website. There's a lot out there. So specifically, what in what area? Like I could get much more detailed if you gave me an area that you want to know more about.
Let's continue to talk more about breeding, because we're kind of on that topic a little bit. ZG talked a lot about his kind of thoughts on it last week. But maybe if you just want to start with kind of like a high level of what is your philosophy for breeding?
I mean, for me, number one, it's a game of breeding. So I felt early on in the game, when a lot of people focused on the racing, that really the breeding was going to be the long-term piece of it. So, very important from that. And number two, it has a lot to do with what horses you're breeding together, and you need to be thinking about the bloodline there too, right? And then it becomes then like crossover and mutation, because when you really think about genetic algorithms, it's kind of what you're playing with at the end of the day. The ZG is much more of a Booterin guy, and we've kind of looked at a lot of the horses that were bred, the last like 6 months. Like, you can get some decent legendary horses off of Booterins, for example. But part of that is there are more of the Genesis horses of them. Like, they're much more population size when you think about like Nakamoto's, for example. So we started to really think about what the initial population size to that bloodline, and how that could correlate to mutation rates, for example. So Booterins have a lower mutation rate than Nakamoto's, making Nakamoto's harder to breed, right? You kind of have to look at it like that. And there's a cost associated and all those kind of things that go along with that, right? So that's important. And then when you're crossbreeding, you kind of playing both games. And I think the horses, as you get farther down the brood, farther down the to like crosses and pacers potentially, maybe the mutation will be easier to control or to predict. So I'm still working out some things from that end, but it is that. Now, to HEROin's point, I have bred some good horses from, I guess we're calling them donkeys. You can take some bad horses together and make good horses. My theory was ZG, and we're still really, this is something that's we're talking about. So I mean, it's something out there, right? But I actually think that would be intriguing if the way the genetic algorithm was optimized is by taking bad horses and making good horses, and that you take good horses and then you make bad horses and then you repeat that cycle. It would be, I mean, genetic algorithms, the whole point is to improve a population that you have. So in this case, digital racehorses, right, from that in. But that actually is kind of intriguing because you're taking the weakest components and you're making a stronger component, right? It's something that I've started to kick some ideas out. I have a couple pretty solid bred horses that I have now that from the kind of like last couple weeks of breeding from this kind of theory. I've been looking at some horses from that in. Unfortunately, right now it is really hard to get wins. So I've been looking mostly at pre-race odds, less of what they do on the racetracks, more specifically to try to get an idea of what that horse is. And then with hopes that in the future, again, as I said before, there'll be more races and kind of things that open up a little bit where it's it's a little more fun to run your horses right now. Because right now I lose money. I'm not winning. So like everyone else, losing money on the track.
It's tough for sure. It's tough. I hate waiting 8 hours for 2 races to come up, and then you get like 8th and 9th, and it's just like, oh.
Sucks.
Yeah. It's rough. It's rough. So it's kind of speaking about racing. What is kind of both your approaches to race selection? And along with that, do you believe in downclassing? HEROin, we'll start with you.
As I mentioned earlier, if I have the time, and with the current structure of the game, I do have a little bit more time in race selection. For horses that I'm not very familiar with, the newly bred horses, I'll take a look at both Know Your Horses as well as Zed Run tools in terms of the speed deviation, in terms of which particular distance they would have a wider range of distance, or rather wider range of speed, and then the SD. And then I'll try to enter those horses in that particular distance. Do I look at the relative view of strength now? I don't for class 3, 4, and 5, because there are only a couple of horses they need to avoid in terms of the races. But every pre-race, I'll look at the odds and I'll look at the horses that could potentially spook my horse. That's happened. I think it's relatively common now that you have a horse that's running a 10 odd or 9 odds, and then suddenly he jumps up to 15, 20 because one particular type of horse in that particular race. I still can't find the pattern behind that, but I try my best to recognize those names that I should avoid for this particular horse, and then I'll see how the race progress. By and large, that's what I do most of the time. For the horses that I'm very, very familiar with, it's just finding the right distance and then just dumping the horse in the right gate. I'm still very biased in terms of gate number, although I know gate is not a preference. Gate is not a variable that's implemented. But I don't know. I just want to clock in the data right now, and since the data is there, right, no harm making sure that you're all consistently on one gate. So, for example, Phantom Pacer is always in gate 4. If there's no gate 4 available, there's a good chance I don't want to go into the race. Although I know it doesn't make sense at all. I don't know.
So I should start choosing gate 4 just to like push you out of the race. So you'll join it. So then I'll have a better
Keep them
chance
out
of
of
winning.
races.
Is kind of what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, and I only go for Phantom Pacer, right? I only go for race that is $25 and above.
$5 and
So
higher.
25 and above. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't go for the $5-10 races for that. I just feel it's not worth the while to race a top class horse in the lower value races when you probably have a 15 to 20% win rate. Yeah, unless you can catch the fact that you will have a close streak and then you go for cheaper races and then you go for a more high value races towards the end. But I missed it a couple of times before where I went entered the $5 races and I won it, and then I entered the $100 races and I lost that. So I thought,
No.
shit, I just gonna go with the 25 to 100 and then consistently just race it and I lose a couple $100 over the last 1 week. But I'll come back next week.
Yeah, you will.
Obvious.
Yeah, you will. What about you, Dr. Ian?
So when I was playing a lot and I was highly addicted, I had all sorts of kind of things I was really looking at. And this is before Know Your Horses, which is a great site and all players should be looking at it. I was actually running my own statistics, and CG and I were looking at kind of like what average times were like winning across classes. And then I was just looking at, I was running my own stats on my own horses, kind of just automating that data coming in. This is after doing it all by hand for the first month, which was not the way to do that. And then just kind of looking at, like, again, like what gates, what distances they seem to run closer to the, what would be the higher, more likely to win kind of like rates and what they didn't. And you can get an idea of horses having preference kind of like within that. Now, it's interesting is, like in class 4, they might have 4 distances or 3 distances they can run. They can win at potentially, and then you go up. It might be 2, and then it might be 1. I'm always trying to get the horses to run. At this point, though, to be completely candid with everybody, I don't go nuts with the stats. I'm mostly just training horses and seeing what they're going to do. I think it's in the future. I'll run some more in the future when things open up. But right now, I don't think you can win. I think unless you have just like Vanilla Bean, you've got a really dominant horse. It's hard, I think, to be ROI positive right now. But yeah, follow the statistics, see what you do. If you have gate preference that you like, or if you're running, know your competition. ZG is the king of this. He knows what stables he won't run against. He's like that guy or gal has a lot of really good horses. I don't want to run against them, and whatever distance, right? So there's the competitive piece to that, knowing the competition, knowing your horses, what they're good at. I mean, all those things come into place, but it's hard to win money right now. You can do those things right now. So
that's so much harder right now, like trying to get into a race, and then it comes up, it's like, I know this is the preferred distance, right dollar amount, like this is my race, and I click into it and it's like 8 out of 12, and it's just like, nope, not gonna run, I'm out, can't do it.
Right.
And it's just so defeating. It's so hard.
All right, so we have a question from the audience. I'm going to put it up. It says, racing has to adjust. Breeding is going to put out monsters. But what do you guys think about the future of odds, since it's supposed to be leaving or being replaced?
I mean, if you recall 2 breeding, so we had the breeding now and we had the breeding before, and there were a handful of super freak monsters that were coming out with odds of like 1 or 2. ZG's got one in particular that he was looking at. I think long timeline, there'll be horses that pull odds of 3 and 4 pretty normally. I mean, it'll make the horses now that pull 8s, they'll pull like 16s or more, right? I mean, it's going to be intriguing. The horse that ZG pulled up, I mean, the odds, the other horse, like the horse that would run a 45, I think it was 65, but it might be a higher number. So I just expecting lower numbers to come in moving forward. That's what a GA is for. Improve the population that you're working with.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think the current odds system is. I'm not really for how the odds are working right now. And you realize in the recent weeks since breeding, right, there are horses that run Griffin at 4 odds, or 4, 3, 4, 5, thereabout. And when they run the pit race, right, the odds goes up to 15.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, I don't know, it's no longer that representative of the horse performance. It's always based on the relative field of strength. for me, I actually wrote an article a couple of months back in terms of how I feel the odds should be moving in what direction. I think the odds should be based something on the statistics of the horse in terms of the average speed, maximum speed, minimum speed, standard deviation, range, frequency, mode, medium, whatever it is, right? And then generate a horse odds based on the speed and not just the relative speed of strength. Uh, that kind of odd will probably make a little bit more sense when it comes to actual racing. In the real world, there's no such thing as 1,000 simulation and then they find the odds for you, right?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that the odds in the game kind of morph towards that direction in the future. But there's a downside to this, right? The thing is, for us now, the more experienced player, you run the horse 3 races, 5 races, you know, I have a donkey or I have a winner, right? And you look at the odds, you know, I should be selling this at this price, or I should be buying this or whatnot. But for a newbie that just came into the game, right, the cost of learning, the tuition fees that the newbie has to pay to learn the horse true potential, right, would be so much more expensive. That's the downside of not having a very indicative odds. I've seen newbie buying horses that are crap, literally crap, right? Because they don't know how to study odds. And newbie that know how to look at odds and still buying horses at ridiculous pricing. And there's actually one guy that I know recently that bought a horse and raced like 10 or 15 times. Then I say, oh, your horse odds is really sucky, so should you be running this distance or not? Then he asked me the question, what's odds? Where do I get them? No, you'll be surprised that there are still people out there like this that are still ignorant in terms of what's available. And Zed, to be frank, is not a simple game. It is rather complex. You need to put in a bit of time and energy to learn how to play the game. And the unfortunate thing is there are the big name horses that are killing them in the field. If you see a Steph Curry, you see a Vanilla Bean, you see main event, etc. on the field, right? In a $2 race, you think, why not? Let's try. If I'm a newbie, I have no idea. A guy with a 200 win versus a newbie with 0 wins. I think that's not proper classification of races. That's something that we should work on as well. But to remove odds totally and making it a total black box for newbies, right? I think it will be a very, very expensive lesson and could be a deterrent for new entrants to the game. So we need to have some form of odds that are indicative but not too obvious, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, Poseidon put forth a proposal that a horse under 100 races should be like a maiden class, even set up class 1 through 5, but maidens. And when it finishes its 100th race, then it gets thrown to the big boys, and whatever class it was in, it would then go tour. It would then be placed in that class with regular horses that have over 100 races. I think 100 races is a little extreme personally, maybe 30 or 40 races with other races, with other horses with less than 30 races would be more along the lines of something. But then again, you don't know what those, if you put them in class 5 through 1 or whatever, you don't know if it's still not a good horse, because we still don't know enough about the newer horses when you just look at the Griffins. But we do know that free racing is different than paid racing. And a lot of people seem to forget that the Griffin is a paid race. Excuse me, it's a free race. And that's why your odds are a lot lower than they normally would be.
I've seen Griffins where odds are higher or lower.
I don't know
if
if I agree with that statement, but that's okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, what's your
I feel like
counter?
there's some tough Griffins.
So the Griffin score, I believe, is the fitness of the horse that you bred off the GA. It is different than the rest of the runs they had. I actually think, this is a theory on the side, I think that you have a handicap actually kind of changing the way the horses are, but I think in Griffin it's not on effectively. So when you get to even if it's free or paid races after that point, the way the horses are scaled out is different. So Griffin's kind of, to me, is like a different piece, but that's just my opinion though. So
Somebody put in the chat that it would right now it would take minimum 16 to 17 days for 100 races.
Yeah, 10 hours in. Yeah. I
But
mean, like if they, obviously the class system should be improved. I mean, if they can add classes, maybe they add like actual locations, so you play in like a territory, right? Like North America or say Asia, right? It's just depending on how they want to do that. But it would be nice to spread the horses out a bit more. I mean, honestly, I think that's what we all want. So fair racing, that's fun.
Yeah, what is your, I guess, do either of you have like a proposed new class solution of your own?
I mean, they could do it on color, they could do it on bloodline, they could do a combination, they could say legendaries only. I mean, you could do it where each race is more particular, so things like that, right? I mean, just more races, more $2 races. I mean, in US $2. I mean, I think there'd just be more ways of doing it. Just add more races, add more free races. I mean, people love free races. And now they're hard to get into. They used to actually kind of be easy to get into. Now they're really hard to get into. So
yeah, you got to be.
I think if you're North America, I don't think you have a chance of getting in. I think if you're closer to like Australia, I think you've got a better chance at it. So that's that's a theory. I have to prove that one out. So.
Go ahead, Harold.
So for class, I think it is a very complex problem to solve. You could look at function of number of races, look at the win rate, number of wins, number of plays, etc., and then class it out accordingly. Because you want the right horses in the right race. One of the reasons why I launched a Destiny Tournament Series 1 a couple of weeks back, right? Whereby the criteria was only for horses with worse than 20% ROI. That to me was trying to level the playing field by eliminating all the horses that's been winning a lot. And if you have done 10 paid races and you're negative 20 ROI, then you join the game. And you get to feel that these are the horses that are slightly above average. They're not doing well because they have been facing the gun all the time. Right? But when they're placed into a league whereby they are competitive among their peers, right? The top 6 names are names that you are not well aware of, right? But they are actually rather consistent performance across all 3 rounds. I actually did a little bit of tweaking to the whole race system. I wanted to have consistent racer. So vis-a-vis other tournaments whereby they have carry over the points, right, from round 1 to round 2 and then to the finals, right? I reset the points at every single round. So whatever you've done, past performance doesn't help you in terms of your future races. So every round you have to be diligent in picking your races, deliver consistent performance. Are they the top 3 all the time? No, they're probably second, third, fourth, but they're consistently delivering the kind of numbers every single round. And I spread the round over 6 days, 1 day break in between so that they can prep. So to answer one of the questions earlier, whether do I believe in sandbagging?
Yeah.
I personally don't do it because I can't do it. My horses are just too shitty. They either end top 6, 7 or 8, but never 10, 11, 12, except for one horse. So I would love to try to do sandbag and bring it down to another class, but I don't think it's the right thing to do. But that's a strategy that some people adopt, and some people do it subconsciously, or rather it's inherent in the horse, so you can't really blame them. So I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. It is just a strategy that you adopt. The game allows you to adopt the kind of strategy. Then, if you have the right horse to do it, why not? Right? Yeah, but I don't have the right horse to do it. I'm not saying that I'm so noble and ethical that I'm not sandbagging my horses. I don't have the horse that I can sandbag. They just stays in the class 1 and class 2, and they don't go down the class. So I can't do shit about it. So back to the classes. The reason behind me doing the series 2 or series 1 and 2, right, is really to try to level the playing field. And maybe there's something that Zed could do in the future, based on ROI, based on win rate, based on whatnot. It's unlikely that they'll do what the real world does. In the real world, right, there's a handicapper in the third club that will assess the horse past performance and add weight to the horse.
Yes.
So that the horse is being handicapped and weighed down a little bit so that they level the playing field. It is something that the game can do in the future. I think, or based on how fast Zed has been developing over the last 2.5 years, right? Maybe in the next 10 years, we could have a handicapping that is AI driven, basing on the performance, and then you handicap the horse by a second or 2 seconds, or add some weight or change some algorithm in the racing algorithm, some variables in the racing algorithm. That could make the whole race a little bit fairer. But I don't think that will happen really soon. So what we can do is really to base on historical stats and then try to classify them into different pigeonholes.
I like it. I like it.
I think leagues, just honestly, I think leagues could be fun. So let people break off, have stable versus stable kind of a thing, have some grudge matches. I mean, you got the open races, and I think, obviously we keep that, but that could be a lot of fun, kind of like fantasy football. And I always had a fun idea. You've got, I think, how many distances are off the top of my head, but only have 4 horses for all the distances. And then you have to set which horse to run in which distance. So it kind of makes you give a strategy from which horses I'm going to take to compete against this other stable, knowing they're stable, right? And you could make grudge matches, you can make money out of it. I mean, I think there's other ways to get more competitive action with people, just kind of playing around, other than just like open class racing.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, Ebbs had just said that they're working on showing more than one race at a time. I think they're going to have to get it to where the algorithm, or however they're showing the races, that they're going to have to get it up to at least 10 in the immediate, in like, let's say the next 10 months, maybe add one race being viewed simultaneously at the same time. It's just too little, which is why wait times are too long. In order for us to have custom races, they're going to have to be able to show more races at the same time. Because right now, however the server, the mainframe setup, it's only able to show, I think, 2 or 3 races at the same time at the current moment. So like we still need more. Like all of us are addicted to Zed so far, it seems like. And so we all need a lot more racing, and also I think fatigue will also help with the class system as well, because a lot of people's problem is we're running into like at least a month ago when races were firing off, you were just running up against the same horses all day, and there was no room for anybody else to get in. When breeding happened, it pushed out the race times, and I'm not running against main event Steph Curry, LBJ Goat, and Vanellope all day, so I can get some wins now. So that's my take. Is it's just gonna take time. Like HEROin, you've been here since before racing, so you're watching the steps as Zed is going on.
Yeah, but no, it's quite ironical. When they first started racing, some races were firing off about the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually complained and gave feedback that you have to stagger the races further apart so that I can watch my race. Because I had one race firing today at 1 o'clock, and then the next race at 1:01. So I couldn't finish my 1 o'clock race in time to watch my 1:01 race. So we gave some feedback to say, let's stagger the races further apart. And now, it's kind of strange that we're going around. And I don't think infrastructure, it is a problem. They have the money, they have the resources, they have the manpower right now. So to give that reason that we need to, I don't know, invest, develop, etc. Right? I'm not a full-time guy, so I wouldn't know whether how much effort it takes to build something out or increase capacity, resources. Amazon, Google, Cloud, Azure.
It really depends on where they deployed it and how they architect it. I'm actually kind of doing this in my regular life. So you obviously, what you're saying is from the cloud IS perspective, it's easy to scale up and get more resources. The question is, did they design the architecture in a way that is conducive to that? I don't know. I don't know. That's the problem I see there. So for me, I think the bottleneck though still has to be coming on. There seems to be a lot of issues when actually like writing of smart contracts with a lot of load on the servers. So I'm still trying to, like, they're not telling me where the full bottlenecks are, but I think the architect of that they designed it, the way they designed it may not scale right now. They might have to, build some more into that. To your point, HEROin, they should have added and doubled their development team about 6 weeks ago. They've made a lot of money in the last 3 months. They should have been adding and getting their team and developing. I'd love to see some production from the adding, basically doubling their dev team at this point. I'd love to see some of those things come out. So I think we're all patiently waiting, but I do question how they architect it and can they scale it up. I don't know. Maybe I hope that they can. I don't know. I mean, maybe you have to have you have Zed.Run and then there's Ed.Run, which is like another fork site. So people go to Zed, some people go to this other site as a load balancing page. I don't know. So
Kind of to that end, what I mean, talking about obviously race timings, race frequency, different class systems, changes to that. What other features, whether it's kind of been hinted at or rumored at, or just completely off the top of your head, would either of you like to see in Zed?
Private races, heads-up races against tables. Exactly what Dr. Ian said. Which is why I've really been focusing on running tournaments. It is a lot of work to get signed up, to get people to be aware. And I think that's something that I hope to see more happening in the ecosystem. Zed has not been helping on this as well. I mean, they have a bit of likes here and retweet once in a while, but they have to start to promote more, I don't know, third-party providers within the ecosystem that can bring more fun and entertainment to the system, to the players. One of the races I'm running now is the Survivor series or Survivor games. You got to finish top 6 in order to proceed to the next round. I thought it was a very interesting concept proposed by a couple of guys from the community as well as Jack from Good Boy Racing. That's something that's going to run tomorrow. I'm shilling myself, so give me a bit of chance. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. UTC, that's the start of round 1 for Survivor games.
Nice.
So at the moment, we have about 26, 27 horses. I think we'll get probably a little bit more towards the end. I have a couple of big names that said they want to participate in that race. But those are the
open.
It is still open. We still have about 20 slots left. Yeah, but I'm good with 20 horses or 30 horses. That'll be fun. But to what Dr. Ian said earlier, right? There should be different kind of races, different format. If we can't wait for Zed to develop, or we can't wait for another 2 more years to see something happening, then we have to take it upon ourselves to do some of these tournaments that is out of the system, right? It takes a bit of working on it, it takes a bit of tweaking, it takes a bit of understanding, but it's something that adds a different layer of fun to it. I was just having another idea or talking to somebody else about it. There are tons of Breathless Edge offspring in the market right now, right? I mean, he's one of the most posthumous horse in the system. So why not a tournament whereby only Breathless Edge offspring or the horses with his blood, 3 layers down, 2 layers down, I don't care as long as it's not him himself, right? Then the tournament just those horses, or horse that of a particular distance, particular class, or my stable versus Dr. Ian's stable. I think that would be fun as well.
Yeah.
We can pick. I pick 3 of the horses. You pick 3 of my horses, and then we run off hit to hit. I think Stoneview stable is doing one-on-one race. They're still in the midst of organizing the particular tournament, and I think the community as a whole should be supportive of all this tournament out there. Pony Plow, Zombie Boy, Stoneview, and myself as well. So we just got to get more of this to keep people entertained and not lose interest, because for the next update will be 6 months down the road.
Right, and I think those tournaments, those races really add a good amount of diversity to the value of your horses. Yeah, you don't have to be one of those great racers to still have fun and be a part of something and have some success.
Like a bowling league.
I'll be winning. I'll be winning the game. I have a horse in there as well, so I'll be winning the tournament.
Okay, for people who do not know, his survival tournament is a tournament in which all the horses that are taking part of it, there will be they have to race 3 times in a day, and if you get under 6th place, then your horse is out. And it's 3 races per day, and if you're under 6, you're out. And so it's going to be the last horse standing wins the tournament. So they have to keep racing until every horse places under 6 are one horse does it and all the rest of the horses do.
Yeah.
So like, I think that's a really interesting concept. I'll show your tournament myself as well.
It sounds like fun. Honestly, it sounds pretty cool. I love people getting in. Like, I love more the community involvement. I love it. I think it's great. So, for me, the feature I would love to see is something other than a sunny, dry track. Could we get another surface? I mean, can we use the oracles of the smart contract to say if you're in Japan, you take the weather of Tokyo of that point time, right? And is it raining? Is it raining? Is it sunny? Is it sunny? Right? I mean, have different surfaces. I think that would be awesome. Something I have spoke with some of the devs on. Like, why don't you make color of the horses particular to the weather? So if it's cold, you got to run your white, your white horses, whatever, right? I'm just kind of throwing some things out there, but it would give those horses some utility, and it would add a little more skill to the game, because you wouldn't want to run your fire horses from, in the cold place, but you'd run them in Phoenix, Arizona, for example, right? I mean, it would be something like that. So you got to know the weather and those things like that. But I think that would be fun, because it would give the color an actual thing that means something, because right now it doesn't. But it would be great. I love color, and it doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
If Zook is watching,
I'd love it to mean something.
He would love for them to introduce something like that. Zook's big on.
I would love color to mean something.
And I feel like they made such a big point about color, like in the lore of like, oh wow, it's just this wonderful like tease of like, oh man, what could this mean? What does this mean? And I don't care how small it is. Yeah, I don't care how small it is. I want it to mean something.
Yeah, it would be cool. I mean, I've told Ebbs, and I have told Jeff, like, wouldn't it be cool if your green horses ran better on dirt? Then it would be really cool. Like, if that meant something. I have said to the Zabos, I hope they're good for something in this game, because I haven't figured them out yet. I hope they're good steel jumpers. I hope they're the best jumpers. Like, I'm really optimistic. Like, okay, we get some steeple jumping, and that's what they're really good at. Otherwise, like, I'm gonna be really pissed about that.
In the lore for the Zabos, it says something about them being able to run in different extreme weather conditions and stuff like that. So that wasn't in lore, if I do remember correctly.
Yeah, it would be nice if they made the lore actually part of the game. I guess I would put it like that. If the lore really meant something to the game, for the colors and the bloodlines, that would be pretty cool. It would make the game a lot of fun from that end. Because then you're like, I want a green, Finny, so I could run in this one place. You know what I mean? You would start to like, I want to buy a horse that fits this niche, because I'm going to be running in Phoenix next week, and then like some tournament, right? You know what I'm trying to say? So, or I want to rub my two red horses together and hope I get another red horse.
And I think that just expands the value too of like, oh man, this horse has overall 15, 20 odds. But it's that green horse that's going to run in that niche, and maybe those 15 odds get bumped down to like 11 or something when it runs like its exact race.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh
exactly.
man, like it just opens up the value and the utility like so widely.
It turns a lot more horses into collector's editions, because people would know this horse can run in certain conditions. It would bring a lot more gamesmanship, I believe, to the game as well. That's a great idea. That's really a great idea.
I've been trying since I think February with that one. So I've been trying. I think it'd be like kind of like I like to play fantasy football. I don't know if y'all like to play fantasy football.
Yeah.
And it's you need a tight end, whatever, right? I need a Finny that's this color. Right? Yeah. It's sort of like it gives you more of like, I just need all these niche pieces to fill out my squad, if you will, as opposed to right now, you got some good runners, you got some good breeders, and that's kind of what we have right now. I mean, well, hopefully we get some different track surfaces, some other horses can shine. No disrespect, Vanilla Bean, but I'd like to see other horses win for a while.
100%.
So how? Oh, we've talked about breeding, we've talked about racing, we've talked about features, wish lists, everything. How, in your mind, how do you win at Zed Run?
I'm not really winning, so.
Neither am I.
Yeah,
well, not even just from like a financial standpoint. Is it I get my stable to a certain point? It's like what would it tied to like your goals and your objectives? Like,
Right.
what does it mean to be successful to you in Zed Run?
So, well, obviously for me now is the tournament that I'm trying to organize. I'm trying to juggle a couple of things at one go. I haven't really been focusing on breeding and took the lazy approach and just listening to whatever Dr. Ian and Gigi says, and then I just do whatever it is. So, uh, I would love to spend a little bit more time on the breeding space. And one thing that I've been telling everybody that I'm very, very weak on is selling a horse. You'll be amazed since the day I joined you today, right? I sold my first horse yesterday.
I remember.
Wow.
So that was
Nice.
my first horse that I ever sold.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Very expensive a virgin sale, right? So I lost my virginity in terms of horse sale. But that's something that I'm very, very weak on. I bred horses, I run horses, I am too overly attached to the horse. And when I sold my first, I did a Z1 sale back in March, whereby there was this guy that was hammering everybody to sell their horses. I'm not too sure you guys remember. There's this guy called Bridges, and they had some scam running as well. So I saw a Z1 filly back in March, and up to today, right? I have a bookmark on my browser that I check on the horse every day. Is the horse running well? Is the horse breeding well? You know, so that's something I need to get myself not so attached to the horse. But yeah, so if I'm successful in that, right, it's about having the right community, running tournaments every now and then, been known to be a good breeder, following ZG's and Dr. Ian's theory. So I would like to be a branch of them selling horses, right? So yeah, a good breeder selling horses at a logical price, and a place whereby people come and learn the game. So the thing is, I am not here to really make a lot of money. I mean, I could have just sold off a couple of a single Z1 sale would make back all my investment. That's simple as that, right? I'm here for a long haul. I'm hoping to do this as a full-time job. Yeah, so if I could build that kind of community size, that kind of the right breeding strategy, and help to grow together the game, so that to me is a success.
I like it. I like it.
Awesome. As you know, y'all know, we have a lot of theories out there. CG and I'd love to have some more of these proven out. The success is just demonstrate, with a fair amount of confidence that some of these things are real, or at least they're lending to be in the right directions. I think selling some horses, I have sold some horses. I had a lot of Genesis horses when kind of things popped, so I sold some. I have some more, but like, I think if you can breed horses well and they can run well, and you can sell them, and then you can recoup the investment you made to breed them, because I mean, most of the horses you breed aren't going to be great runners. So I think that's part of that too. So being a good breeder would, for me, be a high level of success, and I can sell those horses. And then also, of course, participating with the community, giving back to the community. A lot of things we've been doing with the Zed Gazette. It's just educating the community. I mean, I think I actually, in some ways, we like what Adam and I've done. There's a lot of success there now because people are talking about this as a breeding game. When we started playing, people would argue with us on the Discord about that for days. And
Yeah.
I know, finally, but it's been a bit. I think that's a success. I don't know. I look at that as a success at this point, like just from that end, just that.
Yeah.
So.
I love it. I love it.
Speaking of breeding, I do have another question. What are your thoughts on the proposed changes to the breeding prices?
The breeding prices. I think it's hard because you're trying to balance both things, right? I mean, they're trying to balance the number of horses in the market, or just in the ecosystem, and then they're trying to balance those things out. I don't love the price of, like, is it 0.25 for a minimum breed fee on Nakamoto's? I'd like that to come down. I understand it needs to be something, The Buderins, though, they need to be considerably, in Phoenix, they need to be much more affordable, because you think of the people that bought those horses and have those horses may not have the budget for getting a Z1 or Z2, for example, right now. So I don't love it. I understand there needs to be minimums, and I'd love to see the market sort of figure that out over time. But I think 0.25 is too much. If that's the case, I may not be able to breed Nakamoto's very well. So, or I'm gonna have to sell some horses to fund that operation. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, I think the 0.25 is a little bit on the high side as well. Um, I and to Dr. Ian's point, I totally agree that there's a need to curtail the growth of the population, right? Because we have probably close to 50 plus thousand horses right now, and you have another 10,000 Genesis horses that's not released to the market yet. And we probably will hit 100,000 horses by the end of this year based on the current growth rate. And that is a cause for concern. The issue is that there's too many donkeys out there and too many horses that doesn't run well. So what do you do with them, right? I actually had a proposal, or I wrote something about this as well, that we should have a donkey staking station. Literally, if you bred a horse, right, and you don't like the horse, you stick the horse into Z smart contract for 6 months to a year. Effectively, you're removing this population of horses that's not running well off the ecosystem, and then you pay them for staking the horses by sending them DAS token. If you all still remember, there's DAS token that's supposed to be launched,
Yes.
God knows
Yeah.
when, right? But it's actually a self-fulfilling, or rather a self-funded process. Every time you breed a horse, right, the rig for Z is at 44% for 7 days duration. That's way too high anyway. So they could literally take the rig, and if somebody stick the donkey into the contract, right, a portion slight amount of money from the rig to pay the donkeys for 6 months to a year, that will encourage continuous breeding and also kind of put a check and balance in terms of the population within Z as well. If I, for example, I have now 80 horses, right? Easy 20 of them are donkeys. But I have Genesis that are donkeys, I have legendary, etc. The rules can be no Genesis can be in the donkey staking station, only legendary or exclusive and above. And then you put them in for 6 months minimum period. If you take out before 6 months, then you lose all the DAS token that you are accumulating. That actually allows, and it also allows me to breed my horse with a little bit more, I don't know, comfort level. I know if I breed a donkey, right, I can just put him to the staking station and he stays there for 6 months to a year. And who knows, 6 months to a year down the road, whatever Dr. Ian suggested, my green horse that is sitting there for the last 6 months finally can run in a green track. Or I have a red horse that runs in Arizona or wherever it is, right? Or a blue horse that runs near a track near the sea. Those kind of permutations will come out. Then I can start to withdraw my horse from the staking station and then say, let's run this for a while. If it works, that's good. If it doesn't work, I put it back into the staking station now. Does it cost Zed a lot of money on doing this? Effectively, it's not, right? Because they are just reducing the rig money from 44% to maybe 42, 40%, and then taking that and fund it back to the users with DAS token. And they are the one creating DAS token, right? So I don't know. And it creates a whole utility to DAS. I'm really looking forward to DAS being the fuel for the system, whereby DAS token holders get the pool of the rig that they're getting from races, from breeding, etc. That creates a whole utility to the whole token itself, and it makes a lot of sense to do that. Would it happen in the next 6 months or so? I don't know. I think they will be under a lot of pressure by the investors to launch it. I'm pretty sure they have sold their pre-sale on DAS token. So that's something that will happen soon. But adding this donkey staking station, right, will actually give us a lot more fun, I think. I can park my horses 6 months and not worry about that, and I will be earning a passive income. Be it $10, $50, doesn't matter, right? It's just passive income, right? Because the horses are sitting in my stable doing nothing at all right now, anyway. So that's an idea that you look at.
I really like that a lot. And also, like, if I just end up breeding an army of donkeys, then I don't feel as bad about it.
Yeah.
Which could happen. I have some donkeys.
Yeah, and to Dr. Ian's point, you're testing a lot of theories, right? I have a rather good size table. If you want to try out some theory with Nakamoto's or Zabos, I have those. No finis. I have no idea why I have no finis at all. I only have one fini. Genesis, and tons of Buturin. But you have a lot of Buturin as well. But if you need to try out some theory with Nakamoto's or Zabos, hit me up, man.
There you go.
I like this.
Yeah.
I like this. I like where this is going.
All right. To further the conversation, I don't have a alternate plan as far as the breeding minimum price, but I'm probably in the minority being fiercely against there being any price per se, except for Nakamoto's. because they put that in the lore. And once again, we keep saying they're not doing anything with the lore on any other aspect, so why choose now? And so my whole reason for not having a minimum breeding price is because it's a free market. Let the market determine everything. If I don't want to pay that much and somebody's going to offer this much, then so be it. It's going to be a market for everything. And the main reason why I said, especially 0.25, that's like what, $800 at the moment or something like that. That's entirely too expensive. And they just formed a partnership with YGG for people who can't afford horses or can't really afford to get into the game to be able to play the game. At least in the impoverished nation or the impoverished area of the Philippines, YGG was formed to give people ability, people who are less fortunate or have less of an income to earn an income playing these pay to earn games or play to earn games. And so if this is going to be a play to earn game, you can't put the market at a price that is entirely too expensive. Because $500 for a gamble, because essentially, no matter how you look at it right now, because we haven't cracked breeding, it's a lottery ticket. Until we can prove or underprove anybody's theories, it's going to be a lottery ticket. Maybe after we all know how to breed monstrous racers, then they can set a minimum. Hey, we know what we're doing now. But right now, it's too early in this stage of the game for them to up the ante.
Right. I would be okay with, no minimum, kind of like the pricing it was before they introduced minimums, but the colts or stallions can only do maybe one or two, like offspring. If you want to control the population, that's one way. I mean, it wouldn't be affecting. Now, people have colts and they might have wanted to set them out. I might be pissing them off right now. I'm sorry. But it's just another way to look at it, right? From controlling the population from that end. If it's into like $800 to $500 to breed Nakamoto's, I just don't know if I'll be able to play this game. I just don't know.
Yes.
You could get a racer that you could have fun with for that price easily.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the flip side of this is this stable owner that owns a lot of Nakamotos. If you have no minimum breed price, right, they will to a certain extent be dominating the market because they will be able to churn out legendary Nakamotos at a very, very efficient price.
Yes.
I mean, I'm saying this to my own disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
I have probably about 6 Nakamoto cords. C1.
Okay.
If there is no minimum requirement, I will just try to go at minimum and try to breed 3 legendary Nakamotos every cycle. And that will be at $75-$80. Right? I might get stuck 1 or 2, but I will get 2 at least if I'm fast enough.
Yeah.
And then I can flip it for 1.5 Ethereum. So to be frank, that's not very fair to the or not advantageous to the masses. It's advantageous to a big stable like myself.
Well, my disagreement with that is that's a part of the game as well, because this is a game too. And sure. I'm gonna read a question, or not a question, and a statement more or less from the chat. It says the lore says it will be harder to bring Nakamotos. I interpret that as because they have a higher mutation right, not about pricing itself. The minimum is to stop in-house stables giving themselves a hefty discount. Well, if you do not know and you are currently watching, or in the future you watch on YouTube, I would advise you to join Chance Stable's Discord because he has a breed sniper bot in his Discord. So if anybody puts a Z1 Nakamoto, Z2, Z3, Z4, not just Nakamotos, or legendaries, there's Zabos, I think it goes all the way up to Finnies. That bot detects it and we snipe. Not myself, but people in his Discord have sniped. So if you want to put your horse at the minimum rate, like you said you have 6 Nakamotos, and if you put all 6 of them up at the minimum, you might get 2 breeds from 2 of them. That's part of the game as well.
Sure.
It's just if you're willing to take the gamble to put your horse up for the minimum and try to breed with it before anybody else, then that's a risk as well. To me, that's gamesmanship. That's fun, like not entering. You're in a race that you control. It's not a simulation. That's my only disagreement with the minimum breed fee, is because I see the advantage and the disadvantage of breeding a horse at the minimum, because you risk losing your breeds.
The comment that was up, like mentioned, um, it's trying to like prevent something about stop in-house stables from giving themselves a hefty
Yeah, I know.
discount.
Yeah, I saw it there, and that makes sense. I mean, they're effectively like if you have a fair number of horses, putting them out there and breeding other horses at a lower rate, effectively. I get that. I understand what they're saying, and that's fair, because if it was only $10 to breed horses, I mean,
Well, that's too low.
Right.
well, a lot more
like-
horses.
That's too low.
Yeah, I mean, there is a minimum
It's $70
somewhere. There is a number
US
that I think, to your point, is a market and a fair floor. I don't know where that number is. I think that's hard though.
But I feel like they can get past that. Like if that's in place just for the like to prevent in-house, or part of it at least is like to stop the in-house discount. Like I feel like people are working around that right now just by having multiple stables.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So I don't know
that's
how much
true.
I like fully disagree with that. There are too many loopholes, I guess, to get around that
Yeah.
at this point in time. Are there any other NFT projects you guys are a part of or excited about?
I have some goats. I have some. Yeah, there's some avatar projects that I think are pretty fun and pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, like Hash Garage. I haven't played that one yet. Actually, I have a car, but I haven't played it yet. I'm excited to play that. Let's put it like that. I don't know what that'll be like. So that's where I'm at.
There you go.
Somebody say chickens.
I've heard about chickens. I haven't played it though.
Oh, the chicken derby.
They just had the drop recently, right?
Yeah.
So the NFT that I'm in, other than Zed, is Monas. It's a avatar kind of a profile pic NFT, and it's a very very nice community. I love the community, and I bought quite a number of Monas from the OpenSea. And I have one particular that's a rare Mona that is that is Zed inspired. So I can share it with you guys later. It looks amazing. So that's one that I'm in. I have a problem with fear of losing out. So I don't want to tell you which other project I'm in, because it's going to be embarrassing. I basically bought every single shit that's available by going in for 1, 2, 3. So I got this tiger thing that is launched recently. I got the chicken from the secondary market. I got Hash Garage. I got Epimon that was Rock Pool. I don't know shit, man. That I should start not looking at any more Twitter feed or Discord invites, and not buying any more things. So Doofy just recommended another NFT. I thought it was amazing. It's about poker cards, so that will be another one that I'll be going into as well. Yeah. So please, guys, don't send me any recommendation at all. I will buy them. Trust me. So I don't want to see them at all.
Love it.
I'll plug one real fast as well. I'm also in one called Hash Demons. They dropped at 0.13 Ethereum, and they're supposed to have an arena game. He said, no, they're like cheap now in the market, 0.02 or something, and there's going to be like an arena where your demons fight each other or something like that. It sounds really fun. So at 0.013, it was like $20. Sorry, Hero.
We can come back to Zed.
Okay.
What for both of you?
I have some NFT art as well that I do.
Oh,
but
nice.
That's like a little side thing from this.
Oh,
too.
that's cool.
Is it art blocks?
No,
or is
it's
it a different one?
Is it the Inhook? How do you say that on their website? It's like the Latin phrase. Hold on, where's the chat? I'll put it in private. There we go.
Okay. Did you send that directly to me?
In private, I put in the private. Should I put it in the stream?
Oh, okay.
Or
I see it.
I can send it to MJ as well.
Oh wow.
I see
Yeah.
it. Give me a second. I hope I didn't.
That's
lose.
cool. Uh-oh. This is a problem.
All right. Give me a second. Cause
So this has been fun. As someone who's enjoyed photography, analog, and then obviously digital for a long time, the NFT art scene was just like, had to get into it, had to have some fun with it. So I just, made some NFTs and burnt them on Tezos, and I've sold some, which has been a lot of fun actually.
Nice. I
Nice.
Do you want me to share that with the stream?
Yeah, go if you want to, man. It's great if you want to. Yeah.
I'll also put it in the YouTube description for the people who watch afterwards. Because I do, I try to, because we're a community of, that have a love of Zed and other NFTs, everybody who comes on, I try to shield without the other things that they're into. Just so people can like expand their horizons on NFTs. And it's also a great way to form more connections as well, I think. Go ahead, MJ.
Yeah, so for both of you, I guess just kind of wrapping up, I got two final questions. My two favorite questions to ask. What have been your most emotional Zed-related moments in your time with Zed so far? Was it buying your first horse, selling your first horse, any sort of community involvement, launching your first tournament, an article? What's something that's been really meaningful or impactful for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've written a couple articles, and I know HEROin as well. I think that's pretty significant. It feels good to add to the community. I still, selling a horse for good dollars, that felt like it was pretty good. Felt a lot of fun that day. I've lost some horses to some other issues that we had with like Polygon and Matic and going to OpenSea Matic, so that really sucked. I mean, lost a really good horse, so that was emotional. I had to let that one go, but I mean, that it's ups and downs with this game. Let's put it like that.
100%.
I think before I started the tournament, I was trying to give back to the community by answering questions to the beginner chat. So to me, you guys are not aware, there was a period of time every night, right? I'll take 2 hours and I'll go into the beginner's chat and say, I'm going to give a one-on-one coaching for the next 3 guys that DM me directly. And I spend the next, instead of 1 hour, becomes like 3 hours session with them. And they continue asking me questions even up to today. Which is something that I feel good about. I don't have the kind of influence like Dr. Ian or Zed, right? But I do one starfish at a time. I talk to one guy and try my best to show them how to play the game. Never selling them any horses at all. It's really about showing them the different facets of the game, the different strategies that they can take, answering them the questions, providing resources. And this is also one of the reasons why I started the Discord server. I really, really didn't want to start a server because there's just too many out there, right? But I felt there should be a safe place to ask questions and not look like a knob, So that's something that I think is, I don't call it emotional, but something that I feel some actualization in playing the game. The players are typically quite surprised when they see my stable and say, my God, you have this number of horses and you're spending 2 hours with me telling me how to play the game. That to me is kind of satisfaction that I get from showing the way, I guess to a certain extent.
That's great.
Love that. You both provide so much value in just so many different ways, and it's really, really cool. Like the game itself, the community is multifaceted, and there's so much value and so many good things happening, attacking so many different directions of the game. So it's really, really nice to see.
Yes. These are truly both of you are truly great guys in this community. I'm glad we got you first for the interview, HEROin, because you were nervous just like I was nervous. And
I am. So hey. I think it was great having you guys around to kind of calm the nerve a little bit. I think I did a minute or so with Hotspurs. Mm-hmm. It was an impromptu thing, and it was a mess, man. Trust me.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, this is a lot better, and then you guys were great.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. Appreciate it.
It's been great. Thank you all for having me. Thank you very much. Yeah. I mean, it's fun to talk about the game. For a long time, it was just ZG. That's the only person I could talk to this game. Which we still laugh about because, like, oh yeah, like we can talk to other people about this now. Because our friends and I stopped explaining this to my friends. I think in December, I just threw my hands up and said, I'm not even going to tell them about it.
Yeah, you guys are pillars, though. Everything that you guys have done in this community, at least for me personally, I think that it's meaningful and it's helped out a long ways. And if you're new and you don't really know what to do, go to Zed Gazette. Or HEROin just said he provides information to people. So he's been here since the beginning. So
Mm-hmm.
he probably had a wide, like a huge amount of knowledge. I know I see him a lot. I seen you a lot in Zombies Discord, and that's how I knew. Like I knew you were here for a while, and I used to just read a lot of the things you said. So I learned a lot just inadvertently, just reading through Discord. And so you guys definitely provide a lot of big brothership, I guess, for the community at large. And that's something that you can't buy or sell. It's something you're giving to people when it's righteous, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm. We noticed there was just a lot of grifters early on, a lot of people trying to scam people, and there wasn't a lot of information really publicly available. So it was just like, how can we make this community stronger and better and not and less likely to get grifted? I mean, like scammed by some people. Yeah, I try. I don't sell horses directly to people. I will give people free advice. I'll tell them, it's not financial advice. I just try to help people, but I don't send me your horse. I don't send any money, whatever. I'll just kind of tell you what I think.
Love it, love it. So I've got one final question for both of you. Do either of you have any traditions or superstitions when it comes to Zed? We talked about it a little earlier. I'll only race in Gate 4. I believe you said HEROin. So whether that's from breeding or racing, or I always love wearing this sweatshirt whenever I do anything Zed related. It's any superstitions or anything like that either of you have?
There are some gates I like to run some horses in, and I don't think it matters, but there are some gates I will run some horses in. That's about it, though. I don't have any guard that anything I wear particularly.
Yeah.
Same here. I think the only thing that I have some superstitions on is in terms of gate preference. I hate to run gate 1 and 12. Maybe visually, I don't like gate 1 and 12. I think visually they just don't look good. So I just like to be in the middle. So 4 and 7 are my favorite numbers.
Nice.
So that's the only thing that I will do. And the other thing about the form, so I as I said, now I'm on a downtrend. So probably today is the only day that I will not race anything at all. I'll take a 1-day break, take a shower, go for a drive, whatnot, then come back and race another 20 races and see how it goes.
You might want to put the horse in a race and then take the shower and go for the drive, because you're going to be waiting a while.
That's true.
That's the episode for this week. Once again, I would like to thank Dr. Ian HEROin for appearing on episode 3 of Zed Run. If you haven't hit the follow button on the corner, please do. And also, for the people who watch in the future in YouTube, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. I'll be putting the video out probably on Wednesday on YouTube. That would be the 21st of July. So thank you all who showed up to watch, and thank you all for your questions and comments.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, y'all, for having us. Thanks, everyone, for showing up.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.